Hey, everybody, welcome back to Author Eke. Today I have J.L. Sullivan, who is a young adult author. And he's going to tell you about his audience, about his books. He has his first book published about a year and a half ago. And I'm sure he's working on others, as other authors do, one or more at the same time,
Yep,
honestly.
always.
So, JL, take it away.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Travis. Yeah, so my debut young adult urban fantasy came out May, about a year and a half ago. It's a very loose reimagining of Aladdin and His Wonderful Lamp. So I
Oh,
live in St.
excellent.
Louis. Yeah, it's about a 15-year-old who finds a genie buried under his building here in town. And the twist is the genie, instead of granting wishes, grants what he reads off of the kid's mind. So as you can imagine, a 15-year-old boy has a lot of fleeting thoughts passing through that don't always lead to good things. So a little bit of horror to it, but mostly urban fantasy.
Yeah, I remember watching I Dream of Genie and always wanting to find a genie.
Yes.
But I never found one.
None of those. It's much more monstrous than I forget the character's name. I Dream of Genie.
So what got you into writing for young adults?
You know, I've always done it. I started probably back in 6th grade. I remember my parents bought me a word processor, probably dating myself, but it was one of those.
Oh, wow.
Looked like a typewriter, and it had a LCD that you would type one line on and then it would spit it out in the paper. And started writing science fiction. You know, it was the 80s, so of course it had a nuclear bomb in it, and people were trying to repopulate in this underwater city. And every week I would dole out, it was 12 pages, 3 chapters, 4 pages each. I was very analytical. I do like episodes as a serial, basically. So I did that, and then high school, wrote for a paper, did a column for the local paper there for a little bit. Didn't get along with that. For anybody watching that's done journalism, it's very rigid. And I was in high school, so I knew way more than the person helping me, and wanted to
That's where it usually goes.
And flowery language. And they were like, no, this is a newspaper. You don't do that. So I ended up starting a literary journal in high school, which got me a little scholarship to college, had a creative writing minor, and it's just always been a hobby of mine.
Excellent. So have you ever thought about putting a group of short stories together that you wrote when you were younger in a book?
I don't know. I've thought about it, but obviously I'd have to do a major rewrite.
Of course.
I like to think I developed a little bit since then, but no, I don't know. I like the form of the long form narrative is much more speaks to me now than the short. I find it harder to write a short story and have a solid arc, and really appreciate people that can do the short stories, because I just don't. Maybe I'm long-winded, but I need the fuller arc to tell.
You need the whole thing there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can write short emails, and I only read about the first 2 sentences of an email, which sometimes is not good, because really the meat of the subject is in the bottom. So, who did you self-publish? Did you go through somebody, or how did you get your book published?
No, traditionally published. I got lucky though, because it's a hard path to be traditionally published. There was a writers conference in town. I was very connected with the St. Louis Writers Guild. And so network there, they had a conference and they brought in some agents and publishers. I had an opening. So I was trying to go the agent route, did some pitches. And then I had some time. And so a publisher was there, didn't have anyone. So she was like, do you want to come? I'm free. I said, okay. And she represents an agency that does predominantly romance. And I said, well, I'm doing young adult, and got really lucky. She's like, we're trying to expand. So we want something else. Timing. So it was just kind of a coincidence thing. So pitched to her, she liked it, and then they started doing more adult thrillers and young adult. And so I just right place, right time, got in with them, and they've been incredible to work with.
Excellent. So are you do you write now? I mean, are you writing another novel right now? And how do you have a plan? Like, I'm going to do X amount of words a day, or I have to finish a chapter, or I've got to get the thought out, or what? How do you write right now?
No,
or how do you?
Not work. Yes, I am writing. Trying to get a sequel to this one done. My editor's been awesome, but she's also like, "Are we done yet? Where are we at? So getting initial feedback now. I'm not. I don't really track myself on word count. More time. I've got 2 preteens. My wife owns a business, so she's got things going on. And so the schedule is usually I get up about 4:35 in the morning, work out, and then I write until my day job starts. And so usually I try to do at least an hour on weekdays in the morning. Okay. The house is quiet.
Well, you knock out a couple hundred words, though. I mean, that's
yeah.
I'm usually I'm a morning writer.
Are you? Me too.
Because I retired year and a half ago, but then I got bored. So last February, I started working for the school district here in Allen, Texas, as a monitor on a school bus.
Okay.
I get 6 hours a day, but I get 5 hour break in the middle.
Yeah.
So I go. That's when I do my workout and write. So I do because when I get home, I'm not physically exhausted. I'm just mentally okay, I'm spent.
Yeah.
So I just like to write in the morning after I work out. I think that helps. I like listening to music when I work out. I think it gives me creativity, and then I like to listen to music as I write.
How much time do you spend a day writing, you think, on average?
3 hours, 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, that's great. That is
I
great.
did. So I have 2 books out, and I was writing a third in the series. I got about 40,000 words into it, and then I had an idea for another book.
Okay.
So I'm kind of squirrelish. So I put that sequel on the back burner. I'm still, formulating and everything.
Yeah.
But now I'm writing a historical fiction of World War I.
Wow.
And
So
I started 2 weeks ago, and I've got about 21,000, 22,000 words done already.
Okay.
Because it's just coming so natural.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of research for that? Because I couldn't imagine historical fiction. I'd be just paralyzed.
It is amazing. I love doing research anyways, even for my fiction books, thrillers, because I want it to be believable.
Yeah.
But doing World War I, you read about MacArthur, Eisenhower, Truman, Churchill, Hitler, Goering, Montgomery. All of these people were in Roosevelt, World War I, some shape or fashion.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 1940 or early 30s, Hitler, late 20s, early 30s. And then all through World War II, that's the same people.
Wow.
And it's almost the same, then, of course, Eisenhower was the president, Truman was the president, but it's the same. It's kind of like, let's do a family tree of this, not from a family perspective, but from a professional perspective and where the world happened, boom, here was, and so many things were created out of World War I. But, we're living in a world now that was created because of World War I, with the vision, because countries, boundaries, things like that. So I find it very interesting, and I'm just a ton of I've got with he is a presidential historian out of SMU.
Okay.
But now he works at the University of Nebraska, so he's kind of helping me along a little bit. If I need something or whatever, because some stuff you just can't find on the internet. There's a lot out there.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering too. I've never done that before, but do you have to? I'm just thinking, if you name Roosevelt, say, do you have his estate to attend to? Are you and I don't know if that's even a thing. Do they call you and be like, no, we don't like how you're painting him. I wanted.
I don't know. I don't call out there. They're not even mentioned in my book.
Got it. Okay.
So
okay.
This is it's I don't want to. I haven't even told anybody the title yet.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
I have everything.
Sorry, I'm interested.
That's pretty cool. So tell us. So So when you're thinking about your sequel, are you carrying forward the main character, whether they're protagonist or antagonist? How do you carry that along? And
it's hard.
Do you kill people off?
Yeah, I do kill people off. It's always the joy being a writer. No, this takes place 2 weeks after the first book, so almost like an extension of the first.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was hard. I got some initial feedback from beta readers and my editor that some of the themes, why don't we try this, and because it's hard to write a sequel, right? You're not sure how much do you need to recap.
Yes.
How much do you just assume they know, and this. We're hoping it'll come out next summer, which means it'll be about 2 years between releases. So even people who read it, enjoyed it, probably need at least a little refresher. How much do you give them without boring people? And it was a challenge for me. I've never done that before. So it's, it's been interesting to see how that goes. So the beta readers have been awesome who read the first one because they read it before the first one came out. And I feel like, as you know, beta readers are essential in this business to get that informal, kind of candid. Even if they don't know what doesn't work, to hear a reader say this chapter sucks, okay, I'll fix it. Just thank you for telling me that. Or this chapter was amazing. Why is it only 5 pages? So yeah, that's essential. So yeah, the whole sequel thing is new. So it's been interesting to figure out those things and where that balance is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things. How much do you want to tell the reader about that person again?
Yeah.
And then you want to have enough where, okay, maybe they haven't read the first one. They read the second one. You've gave them enough that, no, I need to go back and look at the first one, because now they're interested in how did this character evolve over the course of the first book.
Yeah.
And how did they, we get done there, how did they even make it through the first book? So now I've got to go back and read the first one. And then when, you put the third out or whatever, they're ready. They're more, that's always been a thing. How much do you want to put out about a character already?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more the interesting or the idiosyncrasies of the character that you want to put out. Like one of my characters wears the same suit every day.
Really?
Same color. No, not the same suit, the same color jacket, the same color pants, the same shirt, everything.
Yeah.
Because he says he was in the Army and he got out and he goes, well, I would waste too much time trying to figure out what to wear. So I wear the same thing every day. So people always ask him, hey, Tex, is that a new suit? Because it's the same, basically the same one.
Yeah.
So
I think that was Steve Jobs' thing too. Didn't he always wear that turtleneck and so you don't have to worry about it or something?
I think Michael Dell does it. I used to work at Dell. When I met him, when I saw him, he always wore the same suit.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that makes sense because how much time and how much money and time is there? How much money time is there worth their money or whatever, right? So it's so it's interesting. But I don't do that because I don't make enough money to worry about how much time I take to dress. Whatever. I forgot a sock. Oh, well, I'm getting old. It doesn't matter. So, what's your family think of this? I mean, you got two young preteens. Are they pretty? They pretty psyched about it? Like, hey, my dad's a writer. The books in the library.
They're my best beta readers because I'm.
Excellent.
Especially because I got 11, 13-year-olds. A 13-year-old to read it, and in fact, this one I had her read the first chapter, the sequel. I'm like, because she read the first book. I'm like, does this get you in the first chapter? And I don't remember. I said something. It was slang. And she's like, I don't know. Why did you say that? I'm like, well, you say that all the time. And I'm always amazed by that.
No, I don't. Yes, you do.
Well, no, she had really good feedback. I'm like, oh, she was just like, well, yeah, I mean, I say it now, but it's going to date your book in 5 years. And I'm like, are you 13? You just said that to me? I'm like, what? You're right. That's amazing. Okay, cool. Like, so it's kind of like maybe
education's paying off.
Really yeah, exactly. So yeah, so they're excited, and it's in their school library and stuff, which is kind of fun. And my niece she did a book report on it recently and sent me kind of her book report. I'm like, so it's fun, it's
that's excellent. Have you ever done a reading in their library?
I haven't. I probably should. Maybe their English class and no, I haven't.
Get with the local high school or the high school or whatever, because a lot of them they have English departments. And the creative writing, and always get somebody in there that's wrote something that nobody's ever written before.
Yeah,
and that that's the epitome of creative. So it's that. I also spoke at the local library here in Allen.
Yeah,
and so because it's all about how do you get your name out. Nobody knows who you are, so you have to build a brand around yourself and your book or books. Right. And that's the hardest thing that I can see. And I always like giving folks advice on, okay, what kind of marketing would you do? Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, what works, what doesn't? Because a lot doesn't. And you have, I would assume, like myself, I have a finite amount of money.
Yep.
And I want to be able to.
But social media can just be a time suck.
Oh, it's a mind-numbing experience. It's the demise of Western civilization. I am a firm believer in.
So you don't do any social media then with your promotion?
Oh, I do, because I want to help demise people. So I want my fair share.
People have money, right?
Yeah, I want my fair share. I'm like Charlie Brown. I just want, Lucy.
Yes.
Charlie Brown. I just want my fair share. So, but yeah. So how do you market? Tell me about your book launch, or did you even give it a lot of thought? Because I found that authors, like new authors, my first book, I didn't give it much thought. The second book, I didn't even give much thought. But the third one, I'm already prepping, and it's going to be a year, 6 to 9 months before it's out. I'm already prepping.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
I mean, it's trial and error. So the publisher helps a lot because they've got a vested interest. So I think, which I don't know how self-published authors do it without that advice. Now, my publisher didn't do a lot. They sent me kind of a, here's the things you want to do or should do.
Yeah.
So we talked about social media and doing young adult. It's all about TikTok and Instagram. But they say, Facebook, a lot of authors use this. If you want to co-host, you probably do Facebook.
Yeah.
Twitter at the time was kind of like, if you want to, you can. They gave guidance on maybe some contests to enter that they find valuable. So enter some contests. And it was kind of just a checklist, and they did their social media platform. I did mine.
Right.
So it was trial and error. With the second book, I kind of kept a list, a big spreadsheet of kind of, here's the stuff I did. Here's the dates I did it before release, after release, during, day of, and then did it work? Did it not work? What did I get out of it? And then, so for the second book, then I'll be, I think, smarter about where you put your funds, right? Because if you just do every contest that comes across your email, you'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars. And do you really get a lift out of winning first place somewhere? Some you do, some you don't. So it kind of just depends.
Yeah.
Depends how people view that gold sticker on the book. So I'll be a little more, I think, especially with the debut book, you get very wrapped up in the excitement because you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be Stephen King in like 2 months. How do I deal with life? Are there going to be paparazzi outside my house? All that stuff. And you get kind of lost in the moment. And now looking back, I'm like, well, I probably shouldn't have done that or didn't need to do that. But here's some other things I've learned along the way. So I think it'll definitely be, more focused on the second one with what I do and when, timing wise. There were some things I probably should have done I didn't know about. And when I tried to do it, they were like, we have to do that pre-release. We don't really do reviews post-release. And so it's like a whole business managing even the marketing piece. We talk about social media. That was a big launch for me. And I was never on TikTok. I was on Facebook with my friends, a little bit of Twitter for news outlets and stuff. And that was it. So I had to get into Instagram. I had to get into, again, my 13-year-old came in handy with the TikTok. So it was kind of like, I would do some videos and she's like, no, that's dumb. Take 2, do it again. And she's like, let's try this scene. Let's do this. Don't talk about that. I'm like, well, I'm not doing dancing. So let's figure out something else. Because she was kind of my social media producer for a while, but then, so it's a learning thing.
Then she wanted pay. Then she wanted money. You had to fire her. You had to fire her.
I'll give you $3 if you help me do this video. And then she's like, well, this one involves graphics. How about $5? And I'm like, okay, fine. $5 for this one.
Well, I like an entrepreneur.
Now I'm doing this. I'm putting some soundtrack to it. How about $7? I'm like, okay, you're fired. I can't afford you anymore. I can't do the $7 TikTok video. But she's come around and she'll just help me out of the goodness of her soul. And, because I feed her and clothe her.
Well, that helps. I'm gonna look at the third book release. I'm gonna do it like a business plan. Yeah, because it's a business, right? The target audience. Who are you gonna reach out to? What is similar to? Who are the competitors? Even though they're not competitors, similar books. They're not competitive. You're not competing against anybody in the book industry. I don't think there's enough readers out there for everybody, and everybody's reading a lot of books. What's my marketing dollars? Who am I going to market? When am I going to market? When am I going to have these campaigns and do all these different things? I've started a couple businesses, and I said, that's how you have to be able to run it as a business, because that's what you're trying to do. Because this book the audience is maybe totally different, right? And who do I want to read reviews and where am I going to tout it and how am I going to? What I found is very interesting, very, very beneficial is if you can get, somebody that's an expert in whatever you're writing about, or someone who's written a book like that and is very well known, to be able to put a quote on the book when it's published, right on the cover or inside or whatever. And from my perspective, meeting a lot of authors, some are very well known, like myself. Nobody knows me. But they're willing to help you with that, and just reach out to them. That's what I found, and I do a lot of it through X or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and
you learn a lot from those other authors. Even
tremendous.
My publisher connected. There's I think 10 of us that they kind of connected that all kind of came out that year, and so it encouraged us. They encouraged us to like kind of review each other and stuff. Being a romance author or a romance publisher, I read a lot of romance that first year, which I'd never read before, but it was good for me. I got to see kind of a different genre.
Your wife was like, "What's up with you? You're different."
I showed her something, so I'm like, "Look at this," and she's like, "What are you reading?" A great group of writers, and they've become friends.
I was trying to like Barry White.
And all the subgenres in romance are insane about like steamy and sweet and all that stuff. It's but I learned a lot from the writing style and different genres and a lot of historical romance, which I'd never read before.
Right.
And so I think that's important too, to read outside of your genre and learn kind of what are the tropes and what are the things that other people are doing that maybe you can adopt, right? Like I'm not going to adopt erotica into a young adult book, but there might be some other historical components and writing styles that I would adopt in.
Right.
And to your point too, I think following other authors, what are they doing on social media or their website, blog, whatever it is they use, and how are they leveraging it, what works and what doesn't work, and what do I like as a consumer when I go on TikTok? What are the videos that really keep my attention? And maybe I should do those. Like, I don't care if people dance to the music like my daughter does.
Right.
I'm like, I don't really care. Like, but people that give like writing tips or reviews, or I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch their video because it's interesting to see their point of view.
Yeah, I've got a TikTok. It's called I think Walking Author.
Okay.
Because what I'll do is I walk like every morning, and every once a week or something. When I'm walking, I'll throw a video out there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, hey, book launch, or like I'm writing this World War I, or any other advice I hear or see or think about. I'll put it on a little short, less than a minute video on TikTok because just want people to be reoccurring.
Yep.
Coming out there. It's all, the algorithms, how much you put out. You got to be a regular contributor to be able to start building those audiences, no matter what hashtag or whatever you put in there. You've got to be able to build that content. And Facebook, a little bit more, probably to my friends than anything. Twitter, X. Yeah, I don't run any Twitter ads or nothing. But I reach out to a lot of people on there. Amazon ads, I don't know. I can max out the cost per click and not get any clicks. So I'm like, okay, so somebody already has this all wrapped up. And I can probably name about 4 different people that have it all wrapped up. So that's interesting.
You bring up a good point about ads. I think ads though can be valuable on what's it called on Meta, so the Facebook, Instagram stuff, because they'll break down who's actually clicking through. So you can see, like for me, I did a few Facebook ads. And it was people 50 to 80 plus. And I'm like, well, I don't know if they'll really read my book. Maybe. I don't know. I'd love it if they did. I'm not sure. So I'm like, okay, maybe Facebook is skewing a different demographic. So I should spend my advertising dollars on Instagram or something that's a little younger. So some of those ad platforms are great just to experiment with what hits and what doesn't.
Yeah. You have to know your audience. It's all demographics. I do book signings in Kroger through a program. So, and I track, okay, who buys the books and who are they buying them for? It's probably, 60% women that are buying my books because they're probably giving it as a gift.
I would have thought men with your genre.
They give them they're giving to their husbands or fathers as gifts.
Okay.
So, so how you target that's a little interesting, but yeah, you can do that. But I've found too is those signings like that are a great way to get, they'll stop. Oh, the cover, right? The cover's got to catch them.
Yeah.
Then, what's your elevator pitch? Everybody's got to have an elevator pitch. How long is the elevator pitch? 30 seconds. How long does it take you to go from floor 2 to floor 3, right? That's your elevator pitch. Just boom, boom, boom. And then if they want to follow on conversation, then you can have a follow on conversation. But I think, that a lot of authors, I think, are probably introverted, where I'm not. At all. So I don't have a problem, talking to people.
But you mentioned business, though. It is like the elevator pitch. A lot of those, my day job is in the business world, and it is a business. I think a lot of authors get into this that it doesn't matter if you sign with the Simon & Schuster. If you're a debut author, you're not going to get the Stephen King treatment or it doesn't matter the size of the press as a debut author. You still have to run your business and do those type of concepts. And I always think, when I talk to authors who want to get signed, like, take a business class along with your creative writing. You got to balance both. You got to know those ROI terms and marketing terms and how do you get people's attention. To your point, what's your elevator pitch? You can't go in, Well, it was about this woman who like did this thing, and you start rambling on. You lose people, and they'll be polite, but
Yep.
then I think a lot of people don't realize I didn't realize how much of a business it is.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at a book, selling a book, I always equate it to a pie, right?
Mhm.
I divide a pie in 3 pieces.
Mhm.
And then to me, they may not even be proportional, right? Some are bigger than others. Like writing the
Yep.
book, that's the first piece of the pie, which may not be as big as, okay, then editing, formatting, cover, boom, 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 right? The third piece is the marketing aspect of it,
Mhm.
which may be the bigger piece and maybe takes you longer to bite and eat.
Yeah.
Because, how long do you market a book?
Mhm.
And I've talked to somebody, they said, over 3 years, you should be marketing a book for at least 3 years.
Wow.
And especially like you and myself, we write sequels or we write other books
Yeah.
because even though that book may be a little older, it still has value to that person who's never read it
Yeah, that's true.
and has read some of your other stuff because people,
Mhm.
I want to know the genesis of, like, James Bond,
Yeah,
was that Casino Royale. I think that was the first book.
I think
It wasn't
so.
the
Yeah.
first movie, and the first movie with James Bond, Sean Connery was Goldfinger.
Yeah.
But was that the first book of Ian Fleming?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Right? I don't think so. I think it was Casino Royale.
I think so.
But you go back and you want to read that because, okay, how did James Bond even, how was he created? Who
Yeah,
was
it's
he?
the origin
Who was
story.
he? Exactly. So I think a lot of folks, even when you're writing, people go back, people reading Stephen King books that are 20 years old
Hmm.
because they found out, and they just started reading his books, or, you know, Flynn, or,
Hmm.
Jack Carr, or anybody else like that, right?
Yeah.
They do, and they start looking back at those books, and those books are still selling.
Well, I think, you mentioned the pie too. I always tell people too, I think if you want to be a writer, you have to enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you'll be miserable. If you're just waiting to be on the New York Times bestseller list, you'll be
Yeah.
miserable. You have
Yes.
to find some pleasure in the writing and the editing and the business piece, and then the re-editing, and then going back to the business piece and back to the editing, and then maybe writing a little bit more new stuff, but back to the editing. And it's that whole, and then the submission process, and then waiting to hear back, which takes months, and then maybe it's rejection. So you polish
Yep.
it, and I think if you don't have that meticulousness,
Mm-hmm.
it'll just be a miserable life. You have to, and sometimes editing, I find joy in it when we talked earlier at the top of the hour, like, I got my coffee, it's kind of chilly, I'm in the basement, I'm just like, but just going through trying to find the passive verbs or the adjectives I don't need or whatever it is. Like, it's,
Right.
you have to like that process. And
Right.
I was telling a friend of mine, he's a big golfer. I don't golf. But I'm like, it's kind of the same thing, right? I told him, I'm like, you don't golf because you think you're going to be in the PGA. Like, you golf because you want to be better at it and just improve your game, and you enjoy it.
And make your sales quota.
that too. And I was like, for me, I can't imagine spending 8 hours on a golf course. It sounds miserable to me because I don't enjoy it. But like, it's the same thing. Like, I'm doing it just to get better and improve my craft, and hopefully it hits. And for me, it did, which I'm so grateful. But you have to just like wanting it to hit and trying to get better at it.
So I like to print the book out on paper and read it, and then that's how I correct it. Is going back and reading it. I can read it all day long on the screen and use grammatically or whatever that's called. But I like printing it out and looking at, okay, that word's not right, or that wasn't caught, because AI is produced by humans, and humans are have faults, and and so you got to look at it yourself. That's for sure. Yeah. So, have you got a title for your next one?
I think I'm going to go with Beyond Brick and Darkness.
Okay. So you have the book, your current book out, so we can see what it looks like?
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Backward, but yeah, here's the...
So tell us about it. Tell us about the book. So
it's a reimagining of Aladdin's lamp. And so, like I said, it's about a 15-year-old boy who finds a genie, and the genie reads the kid's thoughts and then starts acting upon them, thinking he's granting the kid's wishes. So the entire book is the kid and his 2 friends really trying to get rid of the genie. Like, it's not really a Aladdin type story where they're happy to have the big blue guy singing. It's much more, I went back to the original Aladdin and His Wonderful Lamp from 1001 Arabian Nights.
Mm-hmm.
And so, kind of use of the word jinn, much more of kind of a demon spirit concept instead of a blue guy voiced by Robin Williams. So that's why a little bit of horror comes up, and went back to the source material. So there's 2 jinns in it. So definitely much more of a metaphysical, but I wanted to make it very grounded in reality.
Yep.
The kids go to high school and live in a kind of an urban setting, doing kind of average things, and this kid just always has a desire to be something more, or to have something more, and realizes that wishes come with consequences sometimes.
Did they ever, like, man, I'm glad I got this genie. This Porsche is awesome. Yeah.
I think that's what he thought. So they intentionally unearthed the jinn, so that thinking, great, I'm going to go get the big penthouse. Mom and I are going to go live here. And it's, as soon as they unleash it, they're like, oh, this isn't working right. Like, the jinn starts kind of manipulating the kid's life. So it doesn't quite, he never gets to that point. I think so from, page 20 or so, he's like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
This isn't what I thought it was going to be. So where can everybody get a hold of you?
So you can find me on social media, like we talked about. So JL Sullivan Author on TikTok and Facebook, JLS_author on Twitter and Instagram. My book is available anywhere books are sold, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Bookshop.org is a great, if you're into supporting local bookstores. They will find a bookstore near you, buy it from them, and ship it to you. So I love to promote.
Oh, great.
Bookstore.org. So it's out there in the world.
Well, excellent. Folks, go out there and check it out, especially it's Christmas time, or I think by the time this podcast comes out, it's going to be after. But there's always birthdays, and summer's going to be coming up, and it's a good read. And encourage your kids to read, because that's where their mind grows.
Absolutely.
That's where the adventures start.
Yep, that's right. So the whole world is out there.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right.